Congratulations on your match! Scott's radiant expression could have cowed all of California for a year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Callie. It's been hard to keep myself together. I'm just so... He scrunched up his face and squeezed his arms tight, as if to calm down on the powerful, nameless emotion welling up inside him. He understood, even if he couldn't find a word for it. Jude, with one arm still entwined to Scott's, reached over with his free hand and tapped you on the shoulder. Hey, this wouldn't have been the same without you.
I appreciate this.
You can say that again. Thank you so much for your help, Callie. Take some time to relax and enjoy the reception, okay?
You earned it.
You earned it. Hey, it was worth it. Anything for a good party, huh? The pair of them grinned in unison before, once more, being swept up in the tide of well wishes and distant relations. For an instant, you were left twiddling your thumbs along with the others. You took a moment to survey your surroundings, for the lack of anything better to do. In the far corner of the room, you spotted a conspicuous figure, flitting about, a grim-faced lady holding a camera. You recognized her easily. You'd been at every single Eckert family event for the last decade or more, dutifully documenting the event for posterity. You would have put money on her being there when Miranda and Jude were born, in fact. It was hard to imagine her missing any significant occasion. You're relieved she could make it. Eventually, Jude and Scott hugged, kissed, or shaken hands with the majority of their guests. Meanwhile, the staff would begin to clear a large empty space in the middle of the room, easing the crowds to the walls to uncover the central floor. With the cautious steps, Scott and Jude made their way onto the dance floor. Two lone figures. They took their positions as the noise of the guests faded to silence. You saw Jude lean close to his husband, whispered something in his ear. Scott grinned as their eyes met. The music played. It started off slow with a measured tempo. With a measured, even tempo, the couple began to move in unison, easing into the dance carefully. The toes testing the floor as one might the surface of a frozen pond. As the beat began to pick up, though, they quickly settled into a polished practice routine. To your left, Terry sucked in an impressed gasp. He wasn't the only one to give his approval. As the couple spun steadily around the space, they were encouraging whoops and smattering applause. You could hardly believe those were the same people who, only a few days ago, prior, would have sworn on their lives that this was an impossible feat. Now they were taking turns dipping each other into chairs, barely being able to contain their joy. From across the room, you noticed Baxter watching with a gentle, heartfelt expression on his face. You detected a hint of satisfaction. He was actually proud of his students. You thought his eyes flicked aside to meet yours, though there might have been a trick on the light. The silent sun casting strange shadows. Either way, his features remained unaltered, tender. As the music came to a delicate finish, Scott and Jude maintained their final pose for a second or two before embracing, to acclaim from the onlookers. Scott held Jude's head in both hands, leaning in for a kiss, being extra cheering from Terry, who averted his eyes a little bashfully. He'd always been the type to get flustered over PDA. The lovebirds took their bows and were then rushed off to take more photos. Now the first dance was taken care of. The next order of business was arguably the most important. Food! Harry's voice was easily audible over the growing din of guests milling about once more. In an instant he was gone, vanished in the direction of the appetizers. And there was a green blur at the edge of your peripheral vision. You looked over to find Cove, or rather the empty spot where he had been standing a few moments ago. Nothing more reliable than Cove's response to what Miranda had once dubbed the F-bomb. That boy must have hollow legs. Maybe that was what made him so buoyant. You exchanged amused glances with Randy before she shrugged, followed along behind the two boys. Wanting to avoid the worst of the crowd, you went to find someone to sit down. But since you'd surely be taking your places for dinner, you decided it was worth trying your designated seat in advance. You wandered over to the dining area, peeled your eyes for your own name, or that someone who might be put near you. In order to indicate the seeming arrangements, everyone's names had been written in calligraphy on little cards with flowing gold ink, and placed special card holders in front of the chairs. You had a lovely vision. Unfortunately, it wasn't hard to find the right seat. Your four-person group was positioned close to the long top table, where the grooms and their parents and officiant would sit facing their guests. You had been placed with Cove on your right hand side, with Miranda and Terry seated on your left. You brought out the chairs from your space and made yourself comfortable. Resting your elbow on the table with the chin in your hand, you idly watched the people drift out of the room. As you looked at the faces of guests for their color and variation, it struck you that this was another aspect of the magic of events like these. Skull and Dude's wedding. The demonstration of their love for each other. The collected and aggregate of web of human connection that touched everyone in this room. And of course, those connections reached to the others, beyond this place and time, their future families, their predecessors, their friends and co-workers. Picking out the face of a certain gentleman in the crowd, you were reminded that this wedding had already changed your life irreversibly. If you forged a connection you thought you eroded. Whether or not that would be a good thing remained an open question. The sprinkling of minutes went by while you were lost in your reminiscences, until there came the scrape of chairs on the polished floor.
Hey,
Callie. Thanks for finding our seats. You lifted your head to see Cove was still in the process of sitting down. On the other side, Harry and Miranda were doing the same. All about the dining room, guests were finding their space. Once the momentary fuss of scene arrangements were dispensed, with the meal following after with a very short order. A selection of waitstaff began to set out large plates in front of the guests, each laden with food given off famous steam. If memory served, the options were chicken tangine, beef steak, vegetarian ravioli, and vegan risotto. And naturally, you paid little attention to the main course, your mind being elsewhere. The main was naturally a precursor to what Cove would have described the most important course of all, dessert. On this occasion, you had to agree with them. You gulped down your meal with a growing sense of excitement, hardly able to stop yourself from peeking over to the top table every now and again. The tiered wedding cake, Xavier's masterpiece, stood resplendent at one end of June Scott's table. Next to it, hidden under assuming still the cloche. How would it be received? What would Scott think? In your anticipation, you were finding it hard to sit still. It didn't escape Cove's notice that someone was up. Halfway through eating, there was a gentle nudge at your elbow. He was looking at you quizzically.
are you okay?
Is everything okay? He was genuinely concerned, which was both very sweet and rather funny. He flashed him a quick smile and waved it away. I wanted him to be overheard. During the ceremony and throughout the meal, Baxter had flitted from corner to corner of the room, with the delicacy of a honeybee. His presence unassuming and unnoticed by all present, except you. As the main course was being cleared, however, he tapped a fork against the wine glass. No clear sound reverberating off the tile floors, and quieting the dinner's discussions. Honored guests, I hope the food and drink has been to your satisfaction. There were some non-specific noises of the concussant. From the various tables, you glanced at Terry, who was patting his stomach contentedly, Then, Miranda, still nibbling away at a piece of bread.
Glad to hear it.
I'm glad to hear that. We've come to the part of the evening where the newlyweds will cut the traditional first slices of the wedding cake. Scott, Jude, if you'd like to. The sound of two chairs scraping against the floor drowned the rest of what he said. Scott and Jude got to their feet and came around. Scott and Jude got to their feet and came around from behind the top table. The two men stood shoulder to shoulder, right in front of the tiered cake. A large steel knife clutched in Scott's right hand. Jude's left rested over the top, his running band twinkling in the candlelight. There was a momentary pause as the dour-faced photographer called her solemn, at least to her duty, and then, with a relatively little actual ceremony, the first thing cuts were made. The couple portioned a slice of piece as promised. There was no smashing of cake and turning of face. A round of applause rippled around the tables as the first bites were taken. Then, a bustling sound as people started getting up to form a queue. Scott was limbering to carve slices for everyone when Jude tugged his sleeves and stopped him without a word. He gestured to the silver cover, still hiding whatever was underneath. Sensing there was more to come, the guest piped down again. When Scott reached over and finally lifted the top to reveal the groom's cake in all its glory, there were several soft gasps. One of these was from Scott himself, whose face was blown wide with surprise and delight. He smiled over-mouthed, looking silently at his husband, and back down the controller cake. And that is our cake in all of its glory. He felt a warm, fuzzy feeling spread throughout your body as Scott began to whisper rapidly to its ear, likely interrogating him about what was going on and where the cake had come from. It was too far away to tell what was said, but you didn't need to be near shot to know that Scott was flawed. You sagged in your seat with relief. Your long night's effort was vindicated. News of the groom's cake spread like a wave through the room, people murmuring excitedly to one another. There were some approving nods and expressions of admiration thrown in. At his husband's side, Jude was looking nowhere but at Scott's face, eyes filled with emotion. He wrapped an arm around Scott's waist, and they leaned into each other in a sidelong embrace. A fresh knife had been provided for the second cake, and Scott equally called the photographer back to snap some fresh shots of both the whole cake and then them cutting it. This time the incision was made. Jude addressed the onlookers.
Seriously?
This is the last cake, I swear. Some laughter, and then the room devolved into chatter as people began lining up in the front to the top table. For that is that, you and your friends being close by got there early. The couple handing out slices to everyone on their side plates, and Jude took care of the tiered cake while Scott was still falling over the bright red controller, even as he cut into it. The front of the line, you had the option of taking a slice from the chocolate vanilla tiered cake and a carrot cake of your making, or to Cove's delight, a piece of both. You went for both, obviously. Having just served Cove, the grooms both laughed to hear you ask for 2 slices. What could you say? You wanted to have your cake and eat it. Twice. And Cove grinned at you as you both returned to the table with a plate in each hand, full halvings between you.
Right.
Why make the hard choice when you don't have to, right? Right. When everyone was in their seats again, you got an unexpected visitor. Dexter had squeezed his way past the line, put his arm, and over to your table. His hand hovered at the back of your chair. What's up? Hi! Oh, hey! The Cove's grin was stilted and awkward. There hadn't been time before for him to get used to Baxter's presence, and he was never quite used to it to begin with.
Hello.
It's been a while, Cove. Good evening, everyone. Are we enjoying ourselves? The group exchange glances among themselves as if we decided we'd go fast. It's nice. Go swallowed his mouthful and cake and tried again.
It's nice.
Isn't it very nice? Yeah. Miranda threw up her hands in mock exasperation, her body language having become more flamboyant than ever since the wine she had with the main course. Don't worry, Baxter. I think this is the best wedding I've been to. And Harry nodded along as she spoke, noting his chair on its hind legs, with his arm draped over the back of it. It's been amazing. You brought your A game today, B-Man. Baxter's eyes twinkled at the mention of his old moniker. It looked like the professional hair was suppressing a laugh a bit. I'm afraid that joke gets a steam minus, Terry. Hey! No, but seriously, man, it's been a blast. That's what 2 successful events you've organized with Miranda's family already. You should become official flying fan for the Atkins.
Yeah.
That could work. At least I know who I would come to when Terry and I, need help. Exactly. Wait a minute. The front legs of Terry's chair had moved forward as Miranda waited for her boyfriend's brain to catch up with the conversation. He reached for her glass and took a sort of wine. Terry looked like he was trying to solve an extremely difficult mental math problem. All the power of his language had been evaporated. Miranda simply patted his leg, looked into his eyes and smiled sweetly. You let all sound shot in your head, not wanting to interrupt whatever moment the two were having now. Miranda hadn't proposed at a brother's wedding, but it was a hell of a hint. And Baxter's third finger thoughtfully to his lips, fighting tired away the corners of his mouth that were curling up. Perhaps I could consider introducing a loyalty system. I would certainly appreciate a returning customer. Miranda now laced her fingers together with Harry's, who was still unresponsive to the external stimuli. Her giggled and leaned in to speak quietly to her. I wasn't here for a week. What happened? A lot. Didn't get a chance to elaborate. Dexter, Callie! I was looking for you. I know what you did. Scott had a healthy flush to his cheek. His eyes bright and enthusiastic. It didn't match the almost sinister choice of his words, and Jude appeared at his husband's right elbow. Oh, okay, maybe not. Maybe it was just a different perspective. Now they know who's taller now. You made that cake! Yep, last night. Scott's eyebrows and voice rose in unison, his tone modulating a few octaves upwards in incredulousness.
What?
Last night? You can't be serious. What were you thinking? You and Baxter nearly fell over each other trying to assure Scott that I'm in too much trouble, and that you volunteered your time, and besides, you were both in old hands of baking by now. Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed Cove paying attention, a look of comprehension dawning on his face. The source of your earlier agitation had finally been revealed. With enough reassurance from the pair of you, Scott's concerns mollified enough for him to round his way back to thanking you again. It was a highlight of the day. Honestly.
That's wonderful.
You're too kind, Scott. It's been more than worthwhile. As long as you're satisfied, I can be happier. Anything for our special boys. Thanks. It was just perfect. The cake, the ceremony. His voice was getting strained with emotion, and he broke off in favor of taking Jude's hand again. You won't forget, right, Grant? A vigorous shake of the head from Grant. At that point, Jude shifted to face Baxter's fair arm. His hand straightened, and his shoulders rolled back. He smiled with a face like a lion, all his teeth showing.
Hey.
But Baxter, I still think our relationship is screwed. A lot of things happened very quickly. Next year, Cove gave a little squeaky shock. Brenda took a very deliberative as of her drink. Water, this time. Terry, who had somewhat recovered, had one elbow on the table, his hand shading his eyes, which were wide as milk saucers. Baxter, to his credit, didn't flinch at the accusation, although he thought there was a brief twitch to one of his eyebrows. He meddled with the cuff of his shirt, then let out a monosyllable.
Oh.
Ah. He cleared his throat somewhat awkwardly. You heard about that as well. Why wouldn't you have? Whispering all the secrets. As the engine briefly pointed to you, his eyes sharp. You couldn't resist the chance to gloat, answering his glare with your smuggest of smirks. And then, to properly answer the question, he resumed his standardly polite expression.
No.
No. I don't believe so. You are a couple that will last. I wish everyone could be as lucky as you two. Jude frowned, still in what you begin to think is his lecturing stance.
Yeah?
Luck can only help you meet someone. Keeping it going takes effort. Baxter bit his lip, bowed his head, and accepted his client's point in silence. Cool. Well, here, Jude reached over and clapped a hand on Baxter's shoulder.
We owe you.
For real, you made this happen. Thank you. Thank you all. There was another round of welcomes and no mentions set before Baxter made his excuse and promptly vanished. Jude watched him leave unsalted.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Callie, it's been a rough week, and with everything between you and him, you put it aside and got things done for sure. But I'm sorry. It was big of you to hang in there. I still care about him, even with the way he acts. Jude whistled, and Scott elbowed him inside. Jude gave his wedding reception a glance with your eyes. We should go. The real dancing started, and he owes me a rematch. Scott turned, cocking his hip. It's not going to make any difference, Jude, but I'll humor you since it's your wedding day. It's your wedding day too? Those two had made a game, a competitive one at that. Even out of dancing together, no one would get in the way of that. The couple joyfully made a break for the dance floor, hand in hand. After a second or so, Miranda wiped up a few chocolate cake crumbs from her round her mouth and got to her feet, putting out her hand to Terry. So, we could dance too? Terry placed his palm on top of Miranda's and sprang out of his seat. Yes! Let's go show those clowns what 10 years of buddy parties looks like. Oh, you go! The pair of them turned their puppy dog eyes over to Coke, who was somehow still chewing. He shook his head and swallowed.
Don't worry about it.
I'm good. I'll stay here and watch, if that's okay. Sure, Callie. I think I'll pass too. You have fun, though. Okay, cheers on. They ran up and joined the center of the space, leaving you and Coke to chill. You slouched in your seat, letting the chair take all your weight as you performed a full body sag. It was times like those you were grateful that someone, somewhere, had invented the old age art of sitting down. Across from the room, you watched Terry and Miranda approach the rooms as an initial riff of Modern Club had started to play in the background. Even from your vantage point, it came around that Scott was still very much out of his element when it came to dancing. Baxter's tutelage could only get him so far, and besides, that had been a totally different style and genre. Meanwhile, Terry and Miranda and Jude had been to enough parties and clubs over the years that they had some tricks that had legs and scattered bomb. Your two friends shimmied around the room with abandon, then Scott and Jude canoed to a slow blues number. That for sure as the music had obviously known their audience. In the glass palace of the top of the world, people celebrated the evenings away. A few early stars, like curious children, began to poke their heads out. The time moved for you in strange increments, moments and colors running together like globes of paint. You found the minutes by like jazz chords and camera flashes and laughter. You're only looking around for him at times, trying to catch a glimpse through the shifting mass of bodies. Eyes peeled for that telltale mob of greyish black. But, as you did, Baxter was visible in short snatches. The back of his head over someone's shoulder, half of his face down to speak to a caller, a pair of eyes reflected in the window. His presence was like a wisp of insubstantial smoke. He had become a shadow, easily forgotten. Yet, always there. That was past until you were standing in the lobby with the others to send the W off. It was funny, you thought. For the days you put effort in, it was all over so quickly. Scott and Jude were doing the rounds one last time, expressing their heartfelt appreciation for the people coming. They hadn't stopped holding hands since the dancing began. A few moments later, you were waving off on the front steps as they got in the sparkling car and drove off. A splash of red sped away in an instant, carrying them to a new life together. The majority of the guests made themselves scarce shortly afterwards, heading down to the parking garage and mass or getting taxis. You stayed behind together with Scott and Jude's relations. The party portion of the party might have finished, but someone had to clean up afterwards. You leaned against the wall of the elevator on the way back up the hall, half tired, half relieved. One good thing about the event being over is that you didn't have to worry about it anymore. The doors opened once again, and you stepped out into the living room. Cove and Miranda were at the dining tables, busy stripping them down.
Hey!
What the hell? You were beckoned to join them. As soon as you were scooping up garbage, folding tablecloths and hammers.